I feel like there's this idea that when you are hurt by something or when someone hurts you, to look specifically at like romantic relationship context, like when women keep going back to the person that hurt them, like that guy that's a horrible person, whether it's like legitimately abusive or just like a horrible person that doesn't treat them right, and it's just like not the right person for them. And from the outside looking in, it's so easy to judge and be like, what the hell is wrong with this person? Like, do you not value yourself? Like, what is it that makes you think that you deserve this kind of treatment over and over again? And I feel like we have this bad habit, like, as a society, to always jump to this says something about someone's self-worth. This says something about how somebody respects themselves. And I actually think it has a lot more to do with sunken costs, like the sunken cost fallacy, than like anything else. And I also feel like until you've been in that position where you're being a dumb bird brain bitch, like, to put it rudely, but like where you're just like being dumb when it comes to a guy, like you just don't get why someone would be dumb. At least from my perspective, I know that I was on a massive high horse in college, like looking around at what the hell was going on with people and boys and stuff, and just being like, guys, can we literally get a grip? Until it happened to me, and I'm like, oh my God, you can literally know everything you're supposed to do and still not do it. From attachment, from like whatever is going on with you and that person. And I also think it's this thing where if the person is genuinely like toxic, abusive, or just like a messed up person, you end up like kind of riding this cycle of like highs and lows. But the thing is, when they put you in a low, the only thing that gets you high again is like being around the person again. Like, they are the one you want to like lick the very wounds that they inflicted upon you. But going back, so like even like talking to your friends about it, like, and I was that friend giving therapy for God knows how many hours just to my friend to go back and like feel like the guy has now absolved himself by doing whatever bare minimum apology or non-apology he's done that's like allowed her to go again back to the high of being with him and ignore the low, and like it'll go over and over and over again. So it doesn't really matter what you say at that point, right? But like I was saying before, I really feel like it has a lot more to do with like sunken cost fallacy. So what made me bring this up is I was watching this clip on TikTok where like, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but Carucci, the person that like Chris Brown was with, that he was deeply abusive towards. And I think it's like a clip with her and Ayanla, like Ayanla Fix My Life. And she's like that Black woman therapist, and she's basically like trying to comfort her, and the girl's saying how like she would have still wanted to marry him, like despite all of the ways he like abused her, like, and publicly humiliated her and blah blah blah. But I was just thinking, like, it has so much more to do with sunken cost fallacy. And what I mean by that is like, I honestly feel like a lot of the times when you know something is really bad for you, there comes a point where like you feel like you're in too deep. Like you feel like you've suffered too much with the person, the situation, whatever it is, to even be allowed to consider walking away from it. Because it's almost like, yeah, I have been through so much with this person. I have been publicly humiliated with this person. I have like ridden the lows out and been like, quote unquote, ride or die. And like women are so socialized to like be the ride or die, like, I hate to say it, bird brain person. But like literally it gets to a point where it's like, I have suffered this much. What is it all for? And I feel like in general, day-to-day life, that's a great attitude to have, because it forces resilience of like, I've come this far in life. I've seen this much in life. Like I am determined to see the end of it. I am determined to see the fruits of my labor and see like what all of this amounts to. I think that's a beautiful perspective to zoom out on your entire life in totality and have. But when you look at a specific situation, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, like even separate from relationships, thinking about like your career, like why you're at a certain job, like just a certain chapter in your life of any kind. When you view it with this attitude of like, I have suffered so much at the hands of this thing, so I must see it through, like, especially when it hinges on another person, because that's so out of your control, right? But like, I must see this thing through because it's been so hard. I feel like 9 times out of 10, that's the thing that makes people go back more than anything else. And of course, there's like all the other dynamics of like toxic abusive relationships to consider. But like at the core of it too, when someone is like, this is clearly horrible for you, why do you want to keep doing this? And it's like, well, this is what I've done up until this point, so I have to hold out hope that like somehow things will be different, and then it'll make sense that I've gone through this absolute nightmare, because like I'm going through a tunnel and there's light at the end of the tunnel. But unfortunately, not every time is there light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes like the only way out is like completely removing and cutting ties from this thing, because it is the thing creating the darkness. Like you think that like the darkness and the light are almost like two sides of the same coin of your experience with this person, that one day they're gonna like flip sides and you're gonna still be with this exact same coin and somehow experiencing like the lighter side of the coin. But it's like, no, the thing creating darkness in your life, the thing sucking the air and the life and the energy out of you, the thing creating this vacuum in your life where like things just go wrong, like you just feel drained all the time, is actually tied to that very same person. And as much as you can understand logically all the horrible things they've done to you, but then somehow hold out hope for something different, like there are times where hope makes sense, and unfortunately that's not one of them. And the thing is too, like it's almost not to say like, oh, it's not worth it for me to say this out loud and give this kind of advice, because I know it doesn't really work, but like honestly it's one of those things where like you kind of have to leave until you get tired of leaving, or like stay until you get tired of staying, you know, because sometimes you genuinely, like sometimes like with things like this, especially if it's like romantically inclined that we're using this information for, like you genuinely like cannot again get it from anybody else. And I also think sometimes the happiest thing that can, like the best thing that can happen in this situation is like for the person to cut you off. Because what I've also noticed about women is that, and guys take advantage of this all the time, but if a girl likes a guy more than a guy likes her, it's very difficult for her to leave him. She's always going to see the potential in him, the hope in their relationship together, whether or not there's any evidence that that can actually transpire. She can believe in the fairy tale. And because she believes in the fairy tale, once she believes in it, like she's just going to hang on for dear life. And a lot of the times, guys don't want to look like the bad guy. Guys also have so much to gain from romantic relationships with women or proximity to women in general, whether or not they actually like you. Like they don't actually have to like you or believe in the fairy tale to benefit from the fact that you believe in the fairy tale. You have women paying all of men's bills. Like you have women, like as much as guys love to complain that like, oh, we have to be the breadwinners and this and that, like you have women bending over backwards to serve men, because that's what they're socialized to do, is to like love unconditionally. And men benefit so much from the unconditional love of women. So they don't have to believe in the fairy tale to benefit tremendously from romantic proximity to women. So what usually happens when a girl likes a guy more than he likes her, or like they don't have the same level of investment in the relationship, is like he's not going to want to call it quits, either because it makes him look like the villain or because he really has nothing to gain from calling it quits. Because maybe he'll stay and just cheat anyway, right? Or he'll stay and not cheat, but then it's like, you know, what would he be doing if he was single? His life probably wouldn't be that much better than what it is now being with you, right? It's usually not like a genuine trade-off for you to be in a man's life, the way like being in a relationship with the wrong guy can be a massive, not just downside, but danger to women. That's not usually the case for guys, right? So he can stay in your like bubble and benefit from being in your bubble because you believe in the fairy tale. And so sometimes too, when it's a toxic relationship, it's the same situation where like he's being toxic and terrible to you partly because he doesn't believe in the fairy tale. Because when men believe in the fairy tale, they don't believe in it, they create it, right? It's only even like because of the power dynamics in romantic relationships between men and women, like it's set up a specific way, right? The only reason women can believe in a fairy tale that they don't actually know exists is because it's not really in their power to create one, like in and of itself. Like men have the power to create the fairy tale and make it an actual lived reality. And if they're not making it for you such that you can see it, lay your hands on it, make it tangible, like it's now a memory because he did this for you, then like there is none. And if there was going to be one, he would have done it already. So he doesn't need to believe in a fairy tale that like may or may not happen, because if he truly believed in one, he wouldn't need to believe in one. He would have created one. Because once he sees, it's not like the position of it. I hope this is something that's like coming across clearly as I speak, because it's something that's like so clearly thought out in my mind. But the positioning of it, right, is the guy has the power to identify, basically like cast a woman in his play, if that makes sense, right? So like when they go out into the dating world, they're the ones that, just because of the way things are set up, not saying if it's right or wrong, they're the ones in a heterosexual relationship, obviously. They're the ones that can go scan the room, pick out and decide, like, this is the one I want in my play. Keep in mind, they put people in boxes. You have the whole Madonna whore complex thing. What role you play is also something they're going to typecast for, right? But if they're saying, this is the lead, this is who I want to be, like, genuinely my Cinderella or whatever it is, they have parameters in mind for what that, actress looks like or whatever. So they go out and they look to cast for the role. And that's what dating looks like for them. They have all of the power to like say, hey, I'm looking for this lead, and they go out there and they're chasing for it, and people are auditioning, they're taking women on dates and whatever it is. And once they find the one that genuinely is playing the correct role, they will make the movie. But until then, they're not going to make the movie, right? So like if you are trying to cast for Cinderella and then you meet someone who's a stepsister, and of course, like, because I'm using that analogy, it sounds like the stepsister is like fundamentally less than Cinderella. That's not the case. Just two different women, right? One of them, like, think about the actresses behind the actual roles, right? It's less about, who the women are as people, as actresses, right? And more about the role they're playing. But anyways, you have Cinderella, you have the stepsister. If the guy, Prince Charming or whatever, finds the stepsister, the shoe didn't fit, right? So he's not going to go and have the happily ever after part of the story until he finds the Cinderella. However, that won't stop him, like in a real life scenario, from legitimately dating or whatever and benefiting from the romantic relationship with the stepsister, even though it's not the one he wants in his play. But remember, he didn't do the whole play. He didn't do the happily ever after. He didn't make the fairy tale a reality because he hadn't cast the right person yet. But when he finds the person that's supposed to be Cinderella, like according to him, the one that he feels that magic with, then that's when you have the happily ever after. So anything else in between is just in between. That's not where the story is built from. But from the position of a woman, like, you can't like kind of force the same thing, right? Like you can't like go, like, yes, of course you can, like, women have to be discerning in other ways, right? That's why I think sometimes we like wrongly project our romantic limitations onto men, where it's like, oh, well, what did he mean by this? And like, he glanced at me in this way, and what does that mean? And it's like, you have to insert meaning into like the subtleties of how you interact with men, because women are not kind of empowered to be direct in romantic relationships without being punished for it, because our role is meant to be, not like it's meant to be, but like our role historically is more passive. And when you try to say, I'm going to go against that, you're just punished for it in like a million different ways that we don't need to get into. But you don't need, like, he doesn't need to do that because he's not playing a passive role in this. So if he wanted to say he liked you, thought you were beautiful, wanted to date you seriously, he would just say those things. Because when guys have the opportunity to say those things to people they genuinely really want those things with, and they think it'll go over well, that you are going to be receptive to that, they just say it. So they don't need to kind of beat around the bush or like lay like trails, if that makes sense. So there's that kind of like mismatch. So anyways, back to like the Cinderella analogy, right? If Cinderella is on her, like looking for her Prince Charming though, right? And she finds someone that she thinks can be her Prince Charming. But again, that guy is seeing her as the stepsister, like it doesn't click. She can do everything she wants. She can believe in the fairy tale. Oh, we're going to have happily ever after. And like, because she's being treated as the stepsister, despite her deciding that this is her prince, she will still like live in the storyline of her not having the happily ever after, like not living in the fairy tale or having it be a reality, because she thinks this is her Prince Charming. But her thinking that and even acting that way does not change the reality that he disagrees. And you'll see that even in the movies, that's like true, like in the fairy tale itself, where like as much as the stepsisters also wanted the prince to be their prince, because literally he's a prince. It's not just like a random label, but like literally he's the prince. As much as they want him to be their prince, like they want him to be their guy, he wasn't. And like they couldn't smash their foot into the shoe, they couldn't convince him to see them that way. And if for whatever reason, like, he was able to just, like, still date them like a normal day-to-day life, he wasn't literally royalty or whatever, royalty on a mission looking for Cinderella, like, he probably would have just been like, yeah, fine, the shoe doesn't fit you that well, but I guess you can smush your foot into it and let's see how this goes until I find someone that has, like, the perfect size foot. But again, in the dynamic of that relationship, in that in-between stage, that stepsister would be dating the prince, thinking, oh my God, this is my prince. One day we're going to have that happily ever after. And he's knowing damn well that's like not, it was never going to be you. Anyways, this analogy is taking me. But I just feel like, I don't know, sometimes when it comes to like dating and just genuine, like general things in our life, we have to be very aware of the fact that like you don't have more to gain by sticking it out. A lot of the time you just have more to lose. And I think sometimes people think, I've suffered this much, I surely can't suffer anymore. Like the better thing must be around the corner. But it's like, if it hasn't happened till now, like when will it? Like 99% of the time, like it's really just not coming. And especially if it's early in a relationship, so I'm not talking like you've had however many years of marriage, like that's kind of a separate discussion, but literally like you're not even fully entangled with this person. Like you have to imagine a life where you have the thing that you want, but also realize again that if you are still hanging on to the fairy tale with this person, you must remember that they have and have always had the power to make that fairy tale a reality, to make that potential actualized, to like actually live it out. They could have done that at any moment. And so them not doing that at any moment meant that they did not want to, or they're not the kind of person that would do that thing. And so you're like basically expecting like apple juice to come out of a peach. Like it's not happening. It's not happening. And the fact that you think that like one day it will, it's around the corner, they'll change, I'll get the different side of the coin. Like my Prince Charming will act like a Prince Charming when he's not decided you're Cinderella. Like that day's not coming. And it doesn't matter how much, unfortunately, you suffered up until now thinking that it was around the corner. It's better to just cut your losses. Like this sunken cost fallacy of like, I should keep suffering because like I've already suffered this much. I can't just let it all go. Like, no, the sooner you let go, the better. Like it's the first day of the rest of your life. Would you rather know that you held on for 3 years or know that you held on for 10 and all of them are just as bad as the last 3 have been? Because that's the way that it's going, because that change is just not coming. Yeah. Anyways, just some early morning thoughts. I'm also trying this new thing where I do a 5 to 9. This is my first Monday doing it. And I like it so far because I just feel like at night I try to like, what's it called when you like kind of procrastinate your own like bedtime? I was just sick of feeling like I was like stealing back hours in the day in the middle of the night. So I was like, let me just wake up earlier and like not be distracted. It's been quite relaxing. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you so much for thinking out loud with me. My name is Obie. Don't forget to follow the podcast here at LUMANI. Share this with your introspective friend. Ask them a question. Leave an emoji in the comment section if you made it all the way to the end. Maybe something pink or something floral. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.